Hello, everybody. I don't know how well my mic is picking this up, but let's give this a try. My name is Tony. I'm a disabled veteran with a brain injury. I served 22 and a half years military service in the Canadian Armed Forces as an infantry to begin with. 99% of my time has been a weapons technician. I have a very colorful experience serving in the Canadian military. I'm going to read you today an ATIP request I received. It took 4 years to get. This incident happened in 2002 in Fort Knox, Kentucky. I want to let you know how corrupt, how... I'll just read it to you. Let's get on with it. As I said, it took me many years to get this. Now, I'm not actually going to show you the screen, but I am going to read it. If you want me to show you the screen sometime, I can actually turn the camera towards the screen that you guys can have a look, or I can share my screen. Anyway, this is from CFPM/GPFC, General Occurrence Hard Copy, Go Number 2002-12017, Professional Misconduct, Cast of Characters, Section 1. I'm going to reach out some names and people who were involved in this entire charade. So here are the people. Master Warrant Officer Walton, Jan Lisa, from 2 Service Battalion, Petawawa. She's the complainant. She is a supply technician. Involved, a Corporal Morel, Patrick. Lieutenant Brenham, Trevor Charles, 25 Service Battalion. Corporal Harris, Richard Allen James. Weapons Technician, ASU London. Corporal Bernard. Corporal Levy. Private Willett, Reservist. Private McIntyre. And Private Everest. And a Major Alexander McKay, 23 Service Battalion, Hamilton, Ontario. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. Let's see. Oh, I want to make sure I get the military police in here, of course. Corporal McCulley, initials are SM, military police officer, CFB Petawawa. Summary of incident. M.W. Walton, the camp sergeant major, said she learned a service member has been nasty to the people of Fort Knox Department of Defense. She believes that myself has stated that I intend to smuggle a prohibited weapon upon my return to Canada from Fort Knox, Kentucky. This happened at 1910 hours, 11 March, 02, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Let's get to it, shall we? Just have to bear with me a second till I find one. Okay. This is from Corporal McCulley. Let's get to it here. Just bear with me a second. I'm trying to read all this. At 14:08 hours, 12 March 02, I attended Triangle Motor Park, Fort Knox, Kentucky, and interviewed Lieutenant Brenham, who related the following. He was an lieutenant at the U.S. Cavalry store in Radcliffe, Kentucky, during an organized wreck run when he overheard myself, I'll call myself Mr. Jenkins, because that's my actual last name, stated to the employees he wished to purchase a stun gun. I then further stated that he returned later to purchase said stun gun when there's not so many people around. A guy by the name of Corporal Harris approached me and inquired to his motivation for purchasing said item. I, according to Corporal Harris, brushed it off. He approached me again and advised me that it was illegal to import said item to Canada. Myself replied by saying it's very easy to smuggle items across the border, and I further allegedly said I previously assaulted an infantry sergeant and got away with it. So I'm going to tell you what happened here. I'm going to break this down bit by bit. This could be a little long. Buckle up if you're not used to this and dealing with people with brain injuries. I was in Fort Knox, Kentucky as a reservist. I was a reservist from 2000 to 2004. I got arrested October 19th, 99, and thrown in jail for 10 months. I was still in the Army Reserves at this time. When I got out of the Army Reserves, I was basically under watch the entire time. We did go to Fort Knox as a weapons technician. We did fix weapons. At Fort Knox, we went down to the U.S. Cavalry store in Radcliffe, where we had basically a day where you could look around. I did inquire about stun guns. I'm a weapons technician, or was, and I'm very curious how they work. It's funny, stun guns aren't illegal in Canada. Cattle prods are more than legal. I was just curious how it worked, and the lady told me and showed me, and that was it. And this young guy walks up behind me and tells me that I can't buy that, and I told him to go fuck right off because, it's none of his business what I'm up to. And he went running around to this MW Walton, and said he's trying to get stun guns into Canada. Okay, so let's continue on. At 14:30 hours that day, MW Walton attended the MP det and advised the MPs that at this time there's a possibility that I, or maybe some of the individuals who was involved, being belligerent to the staff. At 9:35 hours in the evening, 21:35, Corporal Morel was interviewed and decided to not give a written statement to the MPs. He was the driver of the bus on the rec run. Let's get to this. Here's the actual meat and potatoes of this whole event. 14:42 hours, 14 March 02. This is from Corporal McCulley. She began to interview Harris, Bernard, and Levy individually, who provided similar verbal statements. The following information was gained. While attending the U.S. Cavalry store, I inquired about purchasing a stun gun and a bulletproof vest. I was advised by a female employee that he could return later time to purchase a stun gun. When Lieutenant Brenham, see, already a different person, approached Private Jenkins and advised him of the illegality of the stun gun, he didn't care and he had been in jail before. Yes, I had been in jail before, but I never said that to the guy. I just told you what I said to him. Allegedly, all these guys are in the same bus as I. Anyway, allegedly, I said the stun gun's a great way to get a date, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's get to, besides the hearsay, let's actually get to it. 10 o'clock, 15 March 02, Sergeant Smith and Corporal McCulley, the two MPs, attended U.S. Cavalry to inquire whether I purchased a stun gun. Mr. They took their name out, indicated that one had been sold the day previous. However, he cannot be sure who purchased it. Same day, Warrant Nicole escorted myself to the MP det to be interviewed by Sergeant Smith and Corporal McCulley. They rode me my rights and my caution to counsel. I took them up on the call to counsel. So it says, same time, within a minute, I was provided an opportunity to speak with military duty counsel. The conversation was 20 minutes long. I declined to provide a statement on the advice of counsel. They advised me that he was not under arrest and could leave if he wished at any time. So I did. They did advise me that I could hear the evidence against me if I wanted to hear it. So the female MP, Corporal McCulley, said that they had the receipts for the stun gun in hand. This is when I started laughing, and this is when Corporal McCulley became angry and almost violent with me. I started laughing at the MPs, and it was the female, the corporal, who took great offense to me laughing at them. I told them I just got out of the prison less than 2 years ago, and my credit was ruined. I don't have a credit card. And that made her very angry, to the point where I thought I was going to get assaulted by the military police. And they were upset. It says here that Private Jenkins was appraised of all the allegations against them, and I still declined to provide a statement except to report the following. I inquired about purchasing a bulletproof vest and a stun gun because I was curious. I wanted to know about them. However, I did not purchase either. Allegedly, I said something on the bus on the way back from Fort Knox, Kentucky, that was very upsetting to someone. So it also says a warrant officer approached me later that night drunk and started poking me in the chest. He was a VTech warrant out of London, Ontario. During the interview, myself was speaking belligerent to the MPs, and his department was unprofessional. These are the people who were convinced I was smuggling weapons into Canada, and they didn't believe me. It's hard to be nice to those people. So yes, I don't think I was very professional. Neither was Corporal McCulley, the one who literally threatened violence upon me. She cautioned me Corporal McCulley cautioned Private Jenkins, advising him this was a serious matter. It's very serious. That's why I have 3 lawyers. And I stated that I did not appreciate being threatened. At 1440 hours, I departed the interview. So later on, the military police. I know this. I know this thing's all fucked up. You just have to bear with me, please. This is kind of interesting. You'll see. Oh, so this Corporal McCulley, Private Willett, Private McIntyre, and Private Everest said that I was joking about a great way to get a gun. Great way to get a date would be putting stun guns on people. That's not the way I roll, kids. So, on the same day, 15 March, Sergeant Smith, military police officer, telephoned U.S. Cavalry store and spoke to Mr. They blanked out his name, reported that the credit card receipt for the purchase of the stun gun was signed by our guy. They actually put our guy in quotation marks. Sergeant Smith consulted with the exercise JAG officer. JAG is Judge Advocate General. Canada has them. One of my lawyers is actually a former JAG colonel, so I kind of know a bit about the law. So this is at 17:30, so 5:30 in the afternoon. At 17:45, Sergeant Smith and I, so this is Corporal McCulley, attended my quarters with Major McKay and Warrant Nicole. Warrant Nicole's the one who kept poking me in the chest at the pub that night because I wouldn't admit I have stun guns. Major McKay provided myself with the opportunity to surrender the stun gun that's a no charges result, and he would have an opportunity to get my money back. I'll be very honest with you folks. I have money. Money is no concern. At that time, I had very little money. I was really struggling to survive. That's why I joined the Army Reserves. Just having a hard time making go of things. So it wasn't about getting the money back. They wanted me to admit guilt for something I didn't do. That's not the way I roll. If you know me, you'd understand that. I stated to them that I did not purchase a stun gun and I did not have a credit card. And I also said I would sue the MPs that said I had. I did twice voluntary consent to have my kit searched. So they had me up out of my bed at attention as they all went through my kit. Everything from my rucksack to my dirty laundry. I remember them unrolling my socks, my dirty socks, looking for stun guns. I had to be cautioned, I guess, about my behavior towards Sergeant Smith. These are the same fucking people. These are the same people who are absolutely convinced that I bought a stun gun with a credit card I do not own. So, and it's very easy to check whether I've been to prison or not. I have the records. I'm sure the police can get the records. So anyway, let's get back onto this. So they started at 5:45, and they were done at 6 minutes to. They attended. So this is now Sergeant Smith and Major McKay. Attended the U.S. Cavalry store to seize a copy of the receipt for the purchase of the stun gun. Upon arrival, the MPs determined the signature did not appear to be me. Well, you know why it's not me? Because I didn't have a fucking credit card. All right? So this is Corporal S.M. McCulley and Sergeant A. Smith. Now I have all their notes here. I'm just going to scroll through this real quick. just to see if there's anything here worth talking about in the grand scheme of things. But this is how good the Canadian military trains its investigators. It's military police officers. You know, they could do a credit check on me and realize my credit was ruined for spending 10 months in prison awaiting trial for a crime I never committed. Come 2003, I get a shockingly large check from the people I sued for going to prison for a crime I never committed. So that's why I don't worry a whole lot about money. But that's a story for a different day. If you can bear with me a second here, I don't know who's actually watching this. I wouldn't watch this in the grand scheme of things, but that's just me. Now I'm looking at the statements. I'm going to turn this camera around real quick. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. See, they took this person's name out. This person was the crew leader at U.S. Calvary Store. Now this is the end of that. I want to make sure I don't show you guys my service number so you can claim my VA benefits, you know, but no benefits I fucking get. Yeah, so this is McCauley. This is Andy Smith, security coordinator. And that's more Smith. Where's Macaulay's notes? Oh, isn't this great? Look at this. In possession of a... Let's go up a little higher, shall we? This is their actual notes. Further to the breach, CDS file, Sergeant Smith, Warren Nicole, and Major McKay and I attended the quarters of Private Jenkins. Sergeant Smith, upon speaking to the person at the U.S. Calvary Store, advised that they were in possession of a credit card receipt with our subject's name on it, and at the time required the MPs to take fast action. Can return the item. The receipt was not seized first. They feared that I purchased a stun gun in a flight safety issue upon arrival. My God. I began to raise my voice. I did. Saying I did not purchase a stun gun and did not own a credit card. If they found out who provided the information to the MPs, I would sue them. They searched my kit and I allowed them. My locker and bed space were searched. To stand back and stop from speaking belligerently to MPs by Warren Nicole. Warren Nicole's the man who assaulted me, kept sticking his finger in my chest, but that's okay because he's a warrant officer. And in Canadian Armed Forces, if you're above the rank of warrant officer, hell, if you're above the rank of sergeant, you can sexually assault people. Ask me how I fucking know. Anyway. Making faces and gestures in reference to a serious matter. And I said I didn't like his threatening tone. Now, this is Corporal Sue McCauley. She's a little blonde-haired chubby bitch. I really don't like her. Badge 4512. Yeah. Yeah, I was sitting down, she was leaning in my face, yelling at me at this point. So, anyway. So, there we go. Oh, professionally done. No, it's not. So, I hope you enjoyed seeing some of this stuff. That gives you some impression how messed up the Canadian Armed Services truly is. The lack of investigation. I was arrested October 19th. $99. I was literally arrested the morning of, denied bail, and then sat in jail for 10 months until my trial, while my charges were dropped. My credit was ruined. You can't pay your bills from inside a prison. I'm going to tell you a funny story before I end this. My father-in-law, nice guy, actually, my former father-in-law, nice guy. I had a lot of time for him. He loaned me the $4,000. So when I walked to jail, I owned MBNA Canada $4,000. Now, when I was in prison, the guy at the office, the MBNA office in Ottawa, would call my spouse daily, telling her I'm a bad guy and I'm in prison and I don't pay my bills. My former father-in-law did 7 years in Kingston Pen and is a multi-millionaire now because of his skills he learned. Construction, drywall, just bathrooms and kitchens for a living. Good money in that stuff. He loaned me the $4,000 to pay MBNA Canada. So I called MBNA Canada. And I said, listen, I have your $4,000. I'm going to come down to your office and hand deliver it to you. Because I told him I believe common assault is only 30 days in prison. I just did 10 months. I'm willing to give you the money. I went down to his office, and lo and behold, they didn't want my money. They did not want my money. This guy's secretary, the collector guy for MBNA Canada, didn't want my money. Did. I had cash on hand, $4,000. Nobody wanted my money. Anyway, that gives you some insight who I am, some of the things I've been through. This ATIP request is thousands of pages long. 2 discs showed up. This stuff from 2002 is very eye-opening because they were convinced, with no investigation, that I was smuggling stun guns into Canada. I remember at the Louisville airport, we're going through customs, and this guy had one tooth in his head at customs, and he was unrolling my socks too. And just before the plane left, we're sitting on the plane. We are ready to go. We're on the tarmac. The plane stops. 3 U.S. military police officers enter the plane with rifles and walk right up to me. They're like, we want to see your carry-on bags. I said, sure you can. I handed them my jacket, and in my jacket was 1 bottle of Canadian Club whiskey. I bought it at the PX on base. It was like $7. And I bought a folding blade knife at the U.S. Cavalry store. And at the airport, they wrapped it in bright red packing tape and gave it to me for my plane ride home. And that was in my jacket. And I showed the military police all of this. And they said, that's it? I said, yep. They're like, you have a great day, and left. When I got to Canada, the Canadian Armed Forces want me charged with multiple crimes. What was my crime? I didn't commit one. That's the thing. See, I'm not a smuggler. I'm not a fucking criminal. I have 3 lawyers. I could show you my medical bills. Oh, sorry, my legal bills. My medical bills are a story on top of itself. But absolutely fascinating stuff. This is your tax dollars at work. They will spend thousands of dollars to investigate someone like me. I had a warrant officer in CFB Greenwood who sexually assaulted 3 women at a Christmas party, and the military refused to arrest him because it looks bad that your senior NCOs are sexually assaulting them at a Christmas party. So the girls went to the military. They went to the RCMP, and they arrested him at work. They allowed this warrant officer to retire before his trial, so he can get his posting paid for and everything else. It's like final move. This is how they do things. My master warrant officer who grabbed me by the ass. Let me show you real quick. Give me a demo. Came up behind me, put his hand there, and dragged it up to my shoulder. I can't do it with my back. Allegedly, that's not sexual assault in the Canadian Armed Forces. I reported it to the RCMP 3 times. A guy named Sergeant Ryan Kelly or Scott Kelly at the New Midas Department, which is about 40 minutes away from me. I reported it to the military police. I reported that to my chain of command, including Lieutenant Colonel Sherry Buckler. I reported it to the base medical hospital because I went to mental health after that because I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And the poor girl behind the counter, when I told her that my MWO walked up behind me, put his hand on my ass and dragged it to my shoulder, she started crying. And then I was banned from the base hospital because how dare I make someone cry? When they finally allowed me into the base hospital to talk to someone at mental health, the base shrink wrote in my medical file, seems dissatisfied with work after I told him about me being sexually assaulted. That was Dr. He was a civilian doctor on base. I'm not going to say his name, because I assume they hire just the craziest bastards they can find. Or the least qualified, craziest bastards they can find. I can go on and on, but I won't. People have lives. I'm just going to say it this. I wasted my life serving my country. I have a hole in my brain, and I have an AVM, and I am literally waiting to die of a fucking aneurysm. And for what? For what, you may ask? Let me just show you. Let me show you my brain injury. I'll show you what. Let me show you what 22 and a half years of military does for you. Bear with me a second. I don't know how well you can see that. That bright spot is my AVM. That's just going to fucking kill me. That's going to rupture and kill me. That dark spot, boop, that's the hole in my brain. The hole in my brain, 7.1 millimeters. Don't know how deep it goes. My neurosurgeon was concerned. The Canadian military is not concerned. I would go to work with no pants on. No one cared because I could still go to work. I gotta laugh because if I don't, we're just going to end up screaming into the sky because, you know. Anyway, kids, I'm going to go. I have thousands upon thousands of pages of ATIP requests. I have hours upon hours of audio recordings of people saying some pretty fucked up shit to me, like, if I don't admit I'm a neo-Nazi, they're going to throw me out of the army by Friday. Remember that base RSM Ken? Huh? Remember that when you said that? And the next Monday, you're like, did I actually say that to you? And you're like, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you lost your job. Anyway, you kids have a great day. I'm going to start reading this stuff more and more often to people. And I don't care who listens. I don't care who sees it. I would love for someone, anybody mentioned, to reach out to me and explain yourself. I'd love to hear it. You have a great day.